Okay, good morning students. Welcome sa ato next nga lecture about tour operation cycle. And this lecture, I am going to discuss sa inyo kung ano ang dapat nga makita sa inyong nga presentation when you are going to submit sa inyong nga finals output. And remember again, students, nga ang inyo finals output is due on June 2nd. So it is 1 month from now. So you may start preparing sa inyong finals output to be submitted on June 2nd because amo na ina ang inyo nga magiging grade para sa inyong finals. Okay? So let us proceed. Let us continue with our lecture for this week. Okay, so tour operations. So what is the tour operations? It is the preparation and implementation of all activities within an itinerary, within a given time frame, within the estimated cost in order to meet the expectations of the paying client. Now, you have to remember nga ang inyong pag-implement sa mga activities is dapat ara sa itinerary. So when we say ara sa itinerary, dapat nakita ina sang client, dapat it was discussed with the client prior sa pag-draft sang itinerary within a given time frame, of course, within the estimated cost. Kung pilaya ang budget allocated sang client, dapat amo ina ang aton nga to i-follow in order to meet the expectation of the paying client. So in order to meet the expectation or sometimes exceed the expectation of the paying client. Amo ina ang aton nga goal, especially when we are dealing with the marketing. So in this presentation, what we are doing here is we are going to present and then we are going to discuss on how we present it to the client kag kung ano ang needed nga mga ingredients in order for us to make a good presentation sa aton nga mga kliyente. Okay, so what are the tour operation cycle? So number 1 is the planning. Okay, so number 2, contracting. Number 3 is costing. Next is quotations and tariffs. Next is the reservations. Next is the field operations, accounting, evaluation. Okay, so again, planning, contracting, costing, quotations and tariffs, reservation, field operations, accounting, and evaluation. So amo ina ang tour operation cycle naton. Okay, so what is planning? So, sa planning stage naton, diri ka mo students masulod nga daan. So, what are the objectives? Okay, so process of determining the objectives to be achieved. Okay, so what are the objectives? So, the process of determining the objectives to be achieved. Ano ang inyo nga objective, right? What are your objectives na kinahanglan ninyo nga ma-achieve? Okay. Next, so it has to be customer focused, destination oriented, financial, or corporate. Okay, now let's continue. Okay, continue. So it has to be customer focused, destination oriented, financial, or corporate. So when we say customer focused, dapat ang imo pala nga daan nga planning is naka-focus ina sa imong mga customer. Ano ang gusto sa imong mga client? It's not what you want, but what your client wants. Okay? Hindi nga wants ang travel agency nga i-offer sa ila client, but on the other way around. Kung ano ang gusto sa imong mga kliyente. Also, it has to be destination-oriented. Now, kung ang ila nga gusto, let's say for example, is a cruise, let's say Atlantic or European or Asian cruise, so dira ikaw ma-focus. Do not give products or services nga you think is okay sa imo nga client pero sila they have a different idea. Okay? Okay, anyway, at the end of the day, they are the ones going to pay for the products and services. So dapat ikaw i-follow mo and then i-enhance mo na lang kung ano ang gusto sa imo nga client. Next, it has to be financial or corporate oriented. Now, sa planning, which is customer focused, now first is the client profile. Okay? So, client profiling is very important. Now, i-check ninyo kung sino ang inyong kliyente. Are they students? Are they family? Young professionals? Colleagues? Magkaupod sa isa ka company? Is this an incentive tour? Meaning sa incentive tour ang mabayad sin isang ilang company. So dapat may ara kita nga good client profiling para mabalaan naton kung paano kita maka-focus sa aton services nga ihatag sa aton nga mga client. Next, of course, is the destinations requested or proposed. Now, when a client enters your travel agency, may ara gid na sila yang destination requested or proposed. Sometimes sa amon nga travel agency, we also make some suggestions. But these are only suggestions. Ang masunod pa niya Japon are the client. Of course, right? Nagkadto sila sa inyo, they want to ask for your help. Mahatag, for example, ikaw but these are just suggestions. I-enhance mo lang. You just give them kung ano pa ang pwede mo masuggest nga additional dira sa ilang destination requested or proposed. Next is the duration. Okay, so duration is how long is it? Okay? Gaano kahaba ang ilang travel? Is this 5 days, 4 nights? 4 days, 3 nights, etc., etc. So dapat ikaw mismo, as a travel agent, dapat kabaluman ikaw magburubanta. Ma'am, ang inyong trip to Korea, that's very long. 7 days, 6 nights, where in fact, pwede tama lang na mag-ubra-guro in 5 days, 4 nights. But you are just suggesting. Lain man niya Japon if you are imposing sa suggesting. Okay? So, just suggest. Because you as a travel agent, ikaw mismo yang kabalo kung ano ang ilang ulubrahon and then magsulod ikaw within the itinerary nga sulod lang sa duration lang sa ilang travel. So, they would really appreciate it if you can make some suggestion based sa duration or kung gaano kalawig ang dapat nila nga ibiyahe. Next, category of accommodation. Isa ini sa importante also because nga man, we should give some suggestions sa ila. Like ma'am, since you will be out the whole day, I would suggest siguro nga hostel na lang kita para isa ka muka accommodation like 8 in a room. Or if you're in yung travel, for example, let's say is a honeymoon trip, and then you will be staying most of the time sa accommodation, then I would suggest nga, kuha ka mo sang isa ka 5-star hotel with all the amenities in there para hindi na ka mo magkuha with the restaurant, other activities, swimming pool, para nga you can maximize your time. Okay, so it has to be, remember, it has to be customer focused. Okay, it has to be customer focused. Makita gid nila that you are giving them suggestion beyond their expectation. Next is, of course, meal plan. Okay, even sa amon, we are actually checking sa amon niya mga guests. Ano inyo gusto? Breakfast lang or you want a full board meal? Okay, when we say full board meal, included na dira ang breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes, breakfast and dinner lang and then we give them free time sa ilang lunch. So, depende. That's why ginatawag natin yung planning para nga at least mabalaan gid naton kung ano ang aton nga actual nga ihatag sa aton nga client. Next is the sightseeing or activities requested or suggested. This is also very important. Now, if you look at the internet, ang isa ka destination, damo-damo na sa kaladtuan. Let's say, for example, Korea, Japan. But then, we have to consider ang duration, ang budget, kag ang profile sa mga guests. Ano ang ilang gusto? More sila sa shopping? Or more sila sa temple hopping? Or nature? Or adventure? Or food trip? Gastronomic trip, for example? So, dapat sa planning pa lang nga daan, nagasulod na ina. Okay, mode or class of transportation. Are your clients budget conscious nga mga guests or they're okay? Are we going to suggest nga mag-take sila sang budget airline like Cebu Pacific or AirAsia? Or we do Philippine Airlines or Korean Air or Asiana Airlines? So depende. Magwain na datanan when you are planning, it's because everything will, the cost of everything will base sa ilang mga requested activities, even sa ilang mode of transportation. And then the ancillary services. Ancillary services are the extra services. So what are the extra services nga ihatag mo sa ila? If the destination requires a visa, are you going to process their visa? Mapasa lang sila sa imo sang documents and then ikaw na ang ma-process, or is it nga sila ang ma-process? How about travel insurance? How about ang pag-secure sang passport if there are other people, for example, or if there are other customers pa nga wala pa na sa ka-secure sang ilang passport? So, is it necessary? Yes. Okay. So you have to ask them kung ano pa ang mga services nga pwede mo mahatag sa imo nga mga guest. Okay. Next. Guide and or tour escort services. Okay. So sa guide and tour escort services, you have to ask your client, kung needed nila sang escort guide nga ma-guided from the point of origin to the destination, or okay na sila sa ginatawag naton nga local guide wherein ang local guide init na lang sila pag-abot nila sa airport and then dito na sila ma-meet because it will be more expensive if may ara gid sa escort guide halin from the travel agency. But of course, if may ara sa escort guide, daw ikaw na gid ang ilaya nga, let's say guide gid who will be doing everything for them, even decision making. Ikaw naman ang ma-decide kung diin ka makato on this day or you have to switch the itinerary. Amo na ang ubra sang guide or tour escort services. Again, my dear students, please, okay, when you are going to make your finals output, I would like to see this, okay? Ang profile sa inyong client, okay? So I would like to see the profile sa inyong client. So again, ang profile naton is ano ni sila, group of senior citizens, incentive tours, group tours ng student, family tour, barkada tour, etc. Ang ilang destination requested or proposed is needed. Duration nila kung 5 days 4 nights, 4 days 3 nights, 7 days 6 nights. Category accommodation nila, is it 5-star hotel accommodation, 3-star hostel, bed and breakfast, motel accommodation, meal plan, full board, breakfast lang, or breakfast plus dinner, or lunch plus dinner without breakfast. Sightseeing or activities requested or suggested is very necessary also because kinahanglan ko makita kung ano ang mga gusto nga kadtuan sang inyong mga guests based on their suggestion. Mode or class of transportation, I am referring here sa airline. Kung ma-budget airline sila or Philippine Airlines, for example, for that matter. Ang ancillary services is travel insurance, passport processing, visa processing, and of course, the guide and or tour escort services. So please make sure nga ang tanan sini nga mga makita ninyo diri will be included sa inyong finals output i-base ninyo sa inyong planning which is based on customer-focused nga planning. Okay, continue. By the way, ang number of FOCs usually is the FOC is the free of charge na siya. So when you say FOC, ang standard usually is 20 paying guests, you give one FOC or free of charge. So out of 20 paying guests, may isa ka free of charge. But usually, take note, ang free of charge is only sa land arrangement. Hindi upod ang airline ticket. Standard ina siya. Standard ina siya nga practice sa mga travel agency that when you're giving an FOC, it's only for the land arrangement. Ang airline ticket is not included. Now, with the contracting na naman. Okay, so with the contracting, I will be discussing this one as I go along. Okay, so contracting is the process of negotiating and collating from a set of identified suppliers for the most favorable rates, terms, and concessions. Okay, so where do you do the contracting? Sa mga suppliers. Now, ano gani ang tawag naton sa rate na ginahatag sa aton yung suppliers, which is a discounted rate. Okay, now, we have the two rates, no? We have the contracted rate. This is the discounted rate given to the travel agency. And we also have the rack rate. RACK, Romeo Alpha, Charlie Kilo, rack rate. So ano ya ang rack rate? Ang rack rate is the rate or the published rate, which is more expensive than the contracted rate. Now, it's very important nga may ara kita sa comparison between the published rate or the rack rate and then the contracted rate para nga mapakita naton sa aton client. Nga ma'am, if you book directly sa hotel bala, ang ilang one night, 5-star accommodation nga room is $300. But if you book with us, it's only $180. We are going to offer the same amenities, the same inclusions. So ang client, ay o sige sa imo na lang kami mabook, cheaper gali sa imo. That is the reason why the travel agency is offering published contracted rates sa aton mga guests para ma-close naton ang deal. Okay? Now, ari gin-discuss ko na. No? So, published rate, a rate with a built-in commission distributed by suppliers. Contracted rate is a negotiated net rate granted to tour operators by suppliers. So, contracting, contract agreement. So, class and or type of service, category and or type of room, taxes, insurance fees, service charge, kung net inclusive siya or net plus plus. When you say net plus plus, i-add mo pa da ang mga taxes and then what are the applicable concessions. Validity of contract, usually nag-last siya for a year. Renewable, depende sa imo nga production or depende sa imo nga gin-avail nga product sa imo nga supplier. Okay, so continuation with contract agreement. So, booking and reservation, procedures and conditions. So, we have the option date. Ano ang option date nga ginamin? Option date on another, on a layman's term, is the deadline. Okay, so option date nga ginatawag natin is the deadline, which is kung hindi ka makadeposit prior to the deadline, ang imo nga booking or reservation will be auto-canceled. When we say auto-canceled, i-cancel na without prejudice, without even telling you nga i-cancel. So the next time nga i-book mo, hambalan ka, ay ma'am, sorry, hindi na to available. Would you like to try another room na lang? Daw amo sina. Now, what are the cancellation penalties? Of course, this is included. Now, the amendment policies, yes, it has to be included sa contract. The cutoff period, the deposit payments, and then the revision, and then the form of payment, and the credit line. Okay, so duwa lang anay ang ako ni i-discuss And then the next naton, ang aton nga costing, I will be discussing this one on Wednesday.